Doing a bit of painting tonight. I've already put a coat of paint on the back wall. This part here, which you may have seen me sanding off last night. So this evening I've just, I've had to clean the airbrush because I left it a little bit in a state last time. So I cleaned the airbrush off and I've given it a couple of initial coats of Portland stone. Good evening, Dave, how are you doing? And yeah, that's still a little bit wet, so I'm going to just paint these doors and window frames. Whilst I'm waiting for it to dry. Although I have got a feeling I'm going to end up having to use the hairdryer. So this is the big arched door from down there. Now I've laser cut these like all the other windows, and these have got an etched plank design. I'm trying not to let the paint fill the grooves. I'll just go over that with a light wash of black afterwards, just to pick those out. I do need to stick another piece of board behind this. It's not a window, it's just a sort of shutter. Actually need to glue this piece onto there yet. These have all been cut slightly oversized so that they will just slot behind the walls. Now I do need to add another coat of paint, and at the very least another wash coat to the walls first before I can think about putting the window frames and doors in. Hey Pip, how's Pip? Thank you for popping by. Thank you for popping by. Let's hope I can stay on for 2 hours then, Pip. My son's girlfriend's over at the moment, and as yet I don't know if I'm required to take her back or whether her mum's coming for her. You know how these things go. So this is a Humbrol acrylic. No, I'll say that again. Humbrol acrylic matte green that I'm just putting on at the moment. It's almost the perfect colour for these doors and window frames. This is on 0.6mm laser board. Hello, Joe. Yep, indeed. Taxi, taxi. I kind of don't mind, but it also breaks up what I'm doing on an evening. It's a good 40 to 50 minute round trip. It's a greeny blue. It's sort of it's a hard colour to describe, but it's a greeny blue colour. I suppose in this light as well on my monitor, it probably looks a bit more blue than it really is. I suppose it could do, because it's kind of a brown colour. You get a much truer result if it was undercoated with white beforehand, I suppose. But the thing is, to my eye and at this side, it's quite a decent colour. It's quite close, so I'm loath to touch it, or to undercoat it. Sorry, I'm just looking for another one. Oh, you've punched my seat! I've got another cat keeping me company tonight. This is Bella. Do you want to say hello, Bella? Hello. I got up to look for something and she's gone and perched herself on my seat. I'm going to have to move her. Sorry, let's go. Yeah, she really is cute. I must remember to just rinse that. Right, I've painted those. I've now got a little bit of window construction to do. This one here is a window, everything else is boarded up. I can't for the life... Oh, I was just going to say I can't for the life of me remember what those are, but I do now. I have completely forgotten, but I've not constructed these windows. And there's a reason for that, I think. They're not on that thickness after all. Look at this one. Sorry, this is really scruffy because I've got lots of pieces on it. Just trim off the one that I need. No, I haven't pre-constructed these, which I should have done. But I just left them on the sheet until I was ready to come to them. The other doors have been made out of 0.6mm laser board, but these ones are 0.3mm. Just a bit of something stuck there. Yeah, because they're made out of layers. If I'd done several layers of 0.6, it would have been too thick. So now I just want to construct the windows. I could do with some wood glue to do that. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the dregs of this glue out. There's not much left. Prepared. I've done with some tweezers. I want to keep that away from that window as well. Okay, let's try again. Shouldn't take too long to set this, so I should still be able to paint it. I'll just put plenty of glue on, but thinly spread to make sure it sticks down. I don't want to use super glue in this case because it sticks too fast, and if I haven't got it in exactly the right place, that's a window done. You've got other things to concentrate on, haven't you, Dave? But yes, it'd be nice to get back into model making. Nice to see you doing something. So just having a really small frame. Trying my hardest not to lean on the glue. course I've squeezed far too much out and wasted it. For this one, it appears I have forgotten to make the inner frame. Either that or it fell off. So I'm going to use the thicker piece that I've got now. Now I completely forgot to do it. That's a terrible error. I completely forgot to draw that bit. So what I normally do is do a big outer frame that sticks behind the wall, and then two gradually smaller inner frames, but for this one I've completely forgotten to do the backing frame. So one thing I could do is just leave, no, it's already stuck. I was going to say I could just leave that stuck to there and then just cut around it. The material I'm using right now is laser board. I've laser cut these, so it's kind of a laminated card. It's almost like a cross between wood and card. Now I just had a thought I could possibly use that hole there that I've cut to just glue around. Tweezers weren't giving me a good enough grip. So I just glue that to there, and then I can cut out a bigger square rectangle around it when it's glued down. want to get rid of that before I end up leaning on it. I'll just stick that to one side a minute. That's dry to the touch, so I just need to add a little piece to it. And then I'll just need to paint it again. So I need to put a little bit of wood glue on. I might as well, seeing as I've squeezed it out. I could use super glue now, but this is it's a nice bit of Gorilla Glue. I've only got a little bit left, so seeing as I've already squeezed a bit out, let's use it instead of wasting it. This is kind of like a divider in the door. It's a double door. Then behind that door is actually and there is another panel, so I'll just cut off a spare piece here, a scrap bit, and I'm going to stick that behind. As you can see, I've put far too much glue on in the wrong place, but better safe than sorry. I'll just lift some of that excess glue off with a cocktail stick. In with some paint. Yeah, I know what you're all thinking, why didn't you construct it first and then paint it all together? And my sincere answer is, I have no idea. Similar thing here, just got a little divider. And again, I'm just going to touch up the sides. Where's my paint gone? There's a little piece there. That is actually an electrical box. So I'm going to get some white paint for that. Just squeeze a little bit onto this backing board. And when I say a bit, far too much. The brush is still a little bit wet from when I rinsed it. I should really have dried it off because it's making the paint a little translucent. So it's just another little laser cut detail that I've made. Probably wants touching up around the edges once I've cut it off, but it's easier to paint whilst it's on the backing and I'm less likely to lose it. Alright, now again I'm going to just put that to one side until I'm ready for it. One thing I could just quickly do before I switch to something else is I can be having a glass drying setting. So what I want to do is just use a piece of acrylic that I've got here. It's not actually acrylic, it's called PETG, but it's what I'm going to use to put the window frames on that we've just made. So if I just take this off the back, I'm just going to quickly check that it fits where it's supposed to, and it does. Sorry, it's a frame that goes in there. Just checking for fit because it would have been a nightmare to find out it didn't. And then again, I want to just put a bit of white glue on the back. I've still got enough left. Now this is not the normal glue I use for this, so we're in a bit of a risk. I just might as well use it whilst it's whilst I've squeezed it out, otherwise it's waste. There's not much left. In fact, I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough to do. Come on, let's just squeeze out that little bit more. I'll have to change glues for the other window. There we go. I am completely sorry you have not been on screen while I've been doing that, but there we go. Glue on the back, and now I'm just going to stick that down. Just apply a little bit of weight. Where's my other glue? Oh, never mind, I'll just use this. There should just be enough left. It's only a small window. So I'm just going to cut out a little piece, a little border around the window. It's starting to distort then. really is eking out the last of the glue. I'm just leaving the protective film over the top to help me press it down, or to protect it when I press it down. Because the last thing I want to do is get fingerprints everywhere. So again, just apply a little bit of pressure. And what I'm actually going to do is use a clump as a bulldog clip. I'll just clamp that with a bulldog clip and leave it to one side whilst I then go on to the next stage. So I'm just checking this for touch, and it's quite dry. What I want to do is just give it one final coat with my colour. Oh, thank you, blue. Right, so I'm just going to get a little bit noisy. I'm going to use my airbrush. I'll have to try and move it off the table because it shakes. So I'm just going to go over. I might have to scribe some of that stone again. I'm sorry about the vibrations. It's just a combination of the cable and the compressor. It's a wall, sorry, a tabletop compressor, so it sits on the table. You know, you can't really see the colour going on. Well, I don't know if you can see it going on. It's very what? It's very opaque. Yep, translucent. It's just a thin coat to be able to go through the airbrush. So just keep building it up. Now, this is not going to be easy to film due to the nature of just how big this thing is. Let me just try and get you around here. You might just have to bear with me. Yes, you do. Do you want me to set one up? Yeah, part of the reason why let me just come back. I'll show you. I've made some shelving to go on the desk behind me. If you can just see, it's a bit tatty or scruffy, but I've made some shelving, and ordinarily with 1/76 scale, everything fits underneath that level there. But as you can see here, the top of that turret doesn't quite go under, so I'm restricted by the amount of table space I've got. So I can't push it any further back than it already is. I could take the shelving off, but I'd have nowhere to stack my equipment. So I don't know if you can recall watching the thatched cottage being built, but that was able to slide all the way to the back. So this is the textured wall I applied last night. You can just see underneath the brown colour is the grout, natural grout, and then I just painted over the top of it. It's blending in quite nicely. I have a feeling I will have to etch some of that stonework back in again. Now it's been painted. Okay, that's pretty much empty. I must remember to clean that properly this time. Right, so I'm all out of that colour now, which is probably a good point to stop. So now I want to quickly give it a blast with the hairdryer so I can carry on. Oh, that was plugged in straight away. I must have left it switched on. No, sorry, I'm just trying to reorganise. I'll just push the airbrush out of the way because I don't need that for now. And I'm just going to go over it with the hairdryer. It does have some lights, but only in a few few locations, just a bit of subtle lighting. touching it as I go along because I can just tell by touch that it's dry. What I want to try and do now is give it a thin wash of black. That all depends on whether I've got enough white spirit left to thin it down. So I'm going to use a little bit of black oil paint and just going to squeeze a little bit into the bottom of that tub there. Don't need an awful lot because it does go a long way. And then the other thing is whether I've got enough of this left, just some white spirit. And it's just going to be enough to dilute it. I want to leave a little bit behind to wash my brush. That's another thing I need to get some more of. So I just now want to mix that thoroughly to create an oil wash. If I just paint up the inside of the tub there, I can just see how well it's going to work. It's always best to test it on a little bit of unused area. Couldn't think of the word I was trying to find then. Just put a little bit across the bottom there. This bit's going to be pretty much ground level, so I can tell that it's going to be fine. So what I want to do now, just to tilt the camera a bit, I just want to run a little bit over the top of the stone there. And this is just going to run and settle in any gaps that we've got. It might help me also identify the fact that I might need to just go back over everything again slightly and embellish the grooves a little better. But the on an oil wash just runs much better. Can you see I've just literally touched that to the wall there, and it's just spread into the gaps. Those cornerstones just need a little bit more work with the scribing tool. So just touching this to the edges of the stone just brings out the detail. Excuse me, there's too much rumbling there. So I don't really need to scrub at it, all I need to do is just gently touch. And what you get with an oil wash, I know I've explained it a few times before, but what you get with an oil wash is it spreads in a lovely organic way. It doesn't give you an obvious tide mark where the pooling stops, which you get with an acrylic wash. You tend to get a very obvious line where the edge stops, if you see what I mean. So I think I do need to just put a little bit more groove work into there. Just pay a bit more attention to this area because I want it to be a little bit darker. whilst I'm at it, if I just switch over here a minute, this is where the chimney is. There's a little bit of weathering going on there. I'll just allow the paint to run down a little bit. It's like a little bit of staining. Now I'm going to apply this to the whole wall, just touching in little bits, because it's actually a bit more of a greyer stone. So what my intention is to do here is to just darken off this sort of rendered area with the oil wash, and then once it's all dry, I'm going to go over the sort of decorative stone areas with a slightly lighter shade of stone, just to pick it out and differentiate between the render and the stonework. I could use a bigger brush, but I just want to be a bit more controlled and just touch it on, as opposed to flooding it. I want the wash to sort of work with me. So as you can see, it sort of like nicely, organically spreads with gravity. It wouldn't have quite the same effect if I did this with it all flat, because it would just pool. But because it runs down, we just get a nice little texture forming on here. Yeah, it is. It's just a really quick and easy way of weathering. Obviously the texture of the clay and the filler underneath helps a lot, because it gives it something to sort of cling to and spread around. But just kind of going over and over and letting it spread organically. Organically, I'm using that word a lot, aren't I? You know what I mean. I'm not trying to force it, I'm just giving it a helping hand. It's just spreading itself around, and obviously the pull of gravity is what would happen to sort of water staining anyway. You can see there, those stones are much better carved, because it's pooling into that area a bit better. A lot better than it is on the other side. There is a danger of overworking when you're doing stuff like this. But it can be rectified with some dry brushing of a lighter colour afterwards. You don't want to go in and flood the detail, but you do need to pick it out. I know, it's just an effect that happens so much better with oil that you just can't get with acrylics in the same way. I mean, to be fair, it's the mineral spirits that are doing this hard work. Let me just come around a little bit. I've forgotten my tea again, haven't I? I'm trying to touch into that area a bit better, but one, I can't get to it, and two, you can't see it, so I'll just move it on the table a little bit. There we go, that's about as good as it gets. Let me have a drink. I think it is, I think it kind of reflects its age as well. It will have been some quite decorative stone in places, and then in others they've just used whatever sort of stone is to hand for the main construction, and that's probably why it's rendered, because it's not a very sort of pretty it's not a very pretty stonework. But saying that, I bet these days, you know, somebody would kill for a lovely rustic looking stone wall, so it probably would look quite nice if it was all taken off and pointed. Now I've just got a little bit of a hair stuck in there. Try and blend that out. I've been a bit too heavy-handed here, but that's okay. Hard to tell, Pip. I think I'm going to blame the cat. Yeah, some of these cornerstones are a little bit indistinct, so I think when this is dried, I just need to go over it again with my scribe and just deepen some of those, and then go over it with another wash of oil. This is as good an angle as I can get, I'm afraid, for this bit. You just can't escape. It's going to take a long time to get rid of all the dog hair in this room. He spent a lot of time in here, and there was evidence of him everywhere. But he didn't climb on the table. But you know how this hair just drifts everywhere, doesn't it? I don't have an item of clothing that's not got ginger cat fur stuck to it. Thank you, Raymond. Yes, it was. It's a week ago today now. It just floats in the air, doesn't it, Georgia? My son gets frustrated because he wears a black shirt for work. Every time it comes out of the wash, it's got cat fur stuck to it. He's got a lint roller in his bedroom specifically for the purpose of removing cat fur from his work uniform. Whereas I just wander around with black t-shirts covered in cat fur. I just really love the streaking that this is giving off. Yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it? I've still not lifted his water bowl and his food bowl off the floor from where they were last week. I just can't bring myself to do it just yet. Okay, I'm just going to switch over here. My camera doesn't hold still. I'm just off in the background a little. I just need to add a little bit of weathering to that gable there. There's one more building to go after this. This one needs roofing, and then there's another section that comes off here. So I just twist it around. So there's the cottage. Is it a cottage? Is it a guest cottage? There's just the sort of single story. Well, it's actually double story, isn't it? It's not as tall as this, but it's double. So it comes off kind of there, and then progresses this far. Oh, it's the art studio. Well, that makes sense. There's the art studio, and then there's the gatehouse kind of gateway to make. So the little section that just fits on the end here. And obviously I've got to put all the courtyard in. I like that it's an art studio. That's really cool. So I've just got to continue around with my black wash in this section here. I can't push it any further away. So we'll just have to keep moving the camera around a little. So yeah, I've got one more building to make after this, and I was delaying drawing that section up until I knew for certain the dimensions of here, because obviously there's a little bit of tolerance required when you're making models. So I know now that if I just measure this bit, I know how big that section needs to be widthways. So this is the bit that's got the grout texture on. So my my wash sort of reacts with that in a slightly different way. It's like when you're painting any textured surface, it doesn't spread so quickly. So it's going to take a bit more. Luckily, I've still got quite a lot of wash left, relatively speaking. So I'll just keep doing the same technique here. I'm sorry to hear that, Sarah. Now I don't have to go all the way down to the bottom here because, like I said, there's a building that's going to obscure it, but I'm not sure exactly where it comes to. I think I've gone down below the line quite safely here, so I don't need to waste my wash by going all the way to the bottom, even though I'm trying my best to do so. So I will now move on to this last gable. There is a little bit of contouring to do to the base. The ground does rise and fall, so I've got yet to work that out. Like I did with the thatched farmhouse, I've made the model a little taller than it needs to be to allow for the rising and falling of the ground. I'm only going to put a little bit of sort of roadway and pavement around the roadside part of the house, just to give it a little bit of context. And then I've got a bit of courtyard to fill in. So in front of the art studio, which I've now found out which is this bit here, there's going to be a little bit of courtyard in front of that, just to give it something to sit in. And then obviously there's the courtyard in front of the main body of the house. Now I've done that, I can just take that masking tape off. I just masked off the roof while I was airbrushing, so I didn't cover that. Now I've still got left, so I'm just going to go back over the cornerstone on the main part here, just to pick out those stones a bit. Well, technically speaking, it shouldn't work. I'm going to use the hairdryer to sort of evaporate the white spirit a little. I do need to give this area a bit more of attention. Yeah, but I can just fill in. I am at some point going to have to put the floor in this section. But I've yet to go around the corner properly, so I can't spend too much time on this before until I've got that section done. Obviously I haven't painted the roof for that yet either. So now I think I've just about done in terms of the black wash areas. I just want to squeeze out a little bit of white spirit now and clean that brush. Clink. Sorry, that was just me throwing the paint back in the tray. Right, I'm now going to use the hairdryer just to try and dry everything off a little. I'll persuade it to dry a bit better. Actually dried quite nicely. Right, like I say, I just want to go back over now and just try and deepen these cornerstones that have probably just ended up being a bit filled in with the paint. Just using my engineer's scribe here. I think I've just ended up being a bit too heavy-handed with the paint when I've gone over them, just to make sure it was covered with colour, but we've ended up obscuring the gaps between them. It's not easy to do at this angle. It'd be a lot easier if it was on the flat. like I say, I am going to run over these stones with a slightly lighter colour, but I just need to embellish those lines a bit better. Yeah, I'm just going to go over with a lighter colour on the stonework. Just to exaggerate the sort of difference between the stone and the render, because at the moment it's all one tone. Right, I'm just going to do a little bit of cheating here. I'm not going to carry on with this bit. I'm going to do this off screen because I need to lay this flat on its back just to get a better angle and more purchase on the scribing. But I just want to carry on going down the stonework there and just opening up the gaps so you can see those cornerstones a bit better. But I'm going to have to lay that flat to do that, and it's not going to make great progress. Now, what I was trying to get to is to be able to put the doors behind everything. So I need to get everything painted to a level that I'm not interfering with the doors and the windows. So now that I've done the walls, I can put the doors in, and that bit there doesn't affect the doors. So I'm just going to give it a quick blast, and then I'm going to start sticking these doors in. I didn't actually put anything down that one. I'm going to start with this one. And release it from its backing. So we find out if it fits or not. I just put my hand in some white paint that I'd forgotten to put there. Thankfully I've not painted anything. So look at that, I've just leant into it and smeared it everywhere. Let's get that off before I cause any more damage. So these have just got a couple of little tabs that are holding it onto the board. I'll just leave that electrical box attached for the time being because I'm not overly sure, without looking at the pictures, where it goes. So this is why I leave a little gap in the bottom. It's just so I can come in from underneath. I'm just going to use the masking tape to hold that up for me. Now I can use super glue at this point because it's quite a good fit. That's if some actually comes out. Ironic laugh. It's a brand new glue this, and I bet I've wasted my money on a dud. It doesn't want to come out. I mean, it was only £1 from the cheap shop, but still, you would expect the glue to come out. Right, I'll go back to the fail-safe and use the runnier stuff that I don't like as much. Well, I do like it, but not for precision stuff. So I just squeeze some out onto scrap bit of card and get it covered before it dries, because this stuff is actually quite porous, and the runnier super glue tends to soak into it quite quickly before you've had a chance to cover the whole thing. So if I fail to do this, I'm going to go back and use wood glue instead. Oops. One thing I don't want to do is rush it and end up getting glue where I don't want glue. Yeah, see, it's not sticking. It's dried too quickly, or it's soaked into it too quickly. This is why the more viscous stuff's better. So I'm going to abandon super glue for that bit because it's just not working. Now, would you look at that? It's a brand new glue, but it's all dried up inside. I guess I should have, in fact it's done something really weird, it's gone gelatinous. I wonder if I can actually use it by scooping it out, or whether it's just going to turn to a separate sort of putty. I opened up some sort of years old shoe glue the other week because my son's shoes fell apart. The sole came away, and they've done it before. I bought some special glue from the shoe repair shop, and when I squeezed it out, admittedly I'd not used it for a long time, but when I squeezed it out, it had separated into kind of like a paste, and I'm wondering if something similar has happened here, because it doesn't look like super glue. So it's either going to stick or it's not, quite obviously. But it's not even an attempt at being runny. It's just like a paste. So we'll see if it sticks. It's worth a shot, isn't it? Yes, it is. Now, can I get to it without sticking everything everywhere? Well, that's a bit sticky. I think it's going to stick, it's just not an instant grab that I would prefer. Maybe that was wishful thinking. On the plus side, it's not going to ruin anything if it doesn't stick. I'll just have to use a different adhesive. I really don't like that. That was a waste of £1.50, wasn't it? I'd have to go through a lot of trials though to make a super glue paste that actually worked and wasn't just non-stick sticky stuff. Right, so I'm just off camera here, I'm just trying to squeeze the last little bit of Gorilla Glue out onto a piece of scrap card. Excuse me, stomach rumbling. It's time for cake. It's a lot more reliable. I just need payday to come along so I can avail myself of the Super Glue Emporium. Non-stick sticky stuff. Yes, it's definitely a patent waiting to happen, isn't it? I know it was invented to stick skin together as a battlefield dressing technique, but it'd be good to invent a super glue that didn't stick skin. It stuck everything else apart from skin, and you could confidently hold something without fear of it being stuck to you permanently whilst just trying to stick it in place. Right, this should give me a little bit more leeway as well. Although I say it's quite difficult to actually leeway as well. Although I say it's quite difficult to actually stick it in place. I have smeared a little. I'll have to go over with some touch-up paint there. We've just got a little bit of glue stuck to it, but it's actually stuck a lot nicer, and I've just dipped my fist in that again. I will wait till it's dry. I've just got a little bit of white paint, I think, actually stuck to there. No, it's not, it's dust. It's not paint, it's dust. Okay, so that's two. This one is going to be quite hard because there's hardly any gap for it to sit against. So what I'm going to have to do for this is just trim it right up to the edge. Just do a dry fit first to make sure it sits in. Yeah, that works. As you can see, there's still a couple little bits of board showing through there, but I'm going to go over that again with the same black wash that I used for everything else. So I'll prop that up temporarily with my trusty roll of masking tape, and I'll just put some Gorilla Glue around the three sides that I can do. I just want some right on the edge there because it's going against the wall. Okay, try and be careful now. What I'm going to do, just as an extra thing, I'm going to have to use some, you can't see me doing this, but I'm just going to apply some tape to the back. Now, because these aren't windows, it doesn't matter, I can just stick straight over the board, but I'm just going to put a bit of tape behind them and hold them in place until the glue does its job. Another one to go in there. So let me find my glue again. And then we're down to the window. Again, just put a little bit of tape behind it to stick it to the wall, or help it stick to the wall. That's a little bit oversized. Right, now I need to look for that window. Where did I put the window? Good evening, Ashley. Sorry I didn't see you arrive there. How are you doing? Not seen you for a while. Anybody any idea where I put that window? I clamped it to a piece of plastic, didn't I? There we go. Clamped it to plastic. I've now found it. Right, so I've got two. I've got one for this side and one for the other. It's 0.5mm thick is this plastic, so it just takes a bit of cutting. Just use a heavier duty knife for this bit. Now the film's lifting off, so it's not as easy to keep it in place. A pair of nitrile gloves would be handy for this, to try and keep your fingerprints off it. I think it's a rare occurrence for the planets aligning here. Actually, I've not been on for a while. I've been rather tired, so I've just not done much. But I'm back with a vengeance this week. Alright, let's see if this fits. Now I've left, it should do because I did a dry fit first. I've left the film on in the back, and I'm going to keep the film on because this is kind of a frosted window. I'm sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. There we go, it's kind of a frosted window. So that film will do a good job of replicating the frosting. So I'll get some glue smeared all around the edge of the holding frame. I'm crossing my arms over here, getting confused as to where I am. I won't be able to use masking tape on this one because it will just pull the film off when I take it off. So I just have to pray that this holds in place properly. Thank you. It's a really nice green. And it just nicely stands off against the stonework. Right, I'll stick that there. What I'm actually going to do is just stick some tape along the inside that doesn't actually cover the glass, just to try and help stick that in place. It will stick eventually. It just won't hold. It won't hold fast straight away, just because of the nature of the wood glue. Now I've got a couple of tiny little. Well, I've got one tiny little detail to put on because I've lost the other bit. It's a little piece that's fallen off. I've probably swiped it when I've moved the table round. I can easily make another one just out of a piece of card. Now there's a little ramp kind of detail that sits on there. Don't know what it is. It was obviously some kind of access door for when it's had its industrial usage. Oops, that's moving. So I just want to cut a little strip off here, watching fingers. I'll have to glue onto there. I haven't forgotten about the other window, I just want to get this done before I move on and forget about it. Oh, did he? Wasn't listening. That makes sense. I either wasn't listening or I was busy doing something else. That does totally make sense. Wine barrels. In case somebody's watching this in YouTube, after the effect, you don't get the side of the conversation that I see, and someone has just very helpfully suggested or informed that that little door is actually where the wine barrels were delivered when it was a wine producing company, barrel producing company anyway. I think that bit's actually black, but I'll leave it green for the moment until I can double check my colours. It's easy to paint afterwards. I do remember you talking about wine barrels last night. So that does ring a bell now. So this was probably a roll down ramp. Just a nice little detail to add. If you're saying correct, is that correct too? It should be black. It just doesn't quite fit. Oops, excuse me, I don't know if you heard, that was my stomach rumbling. Apologies for the noise. Now I just want to make sure this fits before committing to glue. It's just a nice little detail. Okay, well I can easily overpaint that. It's not an issue. I've just painted it green because everything else was green, but if it's silver, it's silver. Okay, I can now apply some glue. I'm quite happy that that fits. You're looking now. I suppose I can paint it while we go. I mean, I'm being lazy. I've not got the laptop open to help me out. There we go. I'll come back to that bit. I'm going to take the film off this one, so I can temporarily stick it down with masking tape to help hold it in place, because when I peel it off it'll take the film with it, which is the intention. So I'm just getting that stuck in place. Right. I'm going to assume Ray's going to come back and tell me it is silver, so I'll get myself some grey paint out ready. So it looks an awful lot better, doesn't it, with it's a blackish grey ramp, black grey. Okay, so I think if I paint it grey and then give it a wash of black, we should get something similar. Thank you very much for going and checking. I mean, for clarity, Ray hasn't just flown over to France to look. He's got the same, or probably slightly better pictures than I have, or more of them, should I say. Hello Chris, how are you doing? Oh sure. That's an idea, isn't it? Well, all the door frames got to be green now. Speed working, let's try that off. Just give it some instant age now with a black wash. I can apply the same to the door panels as well, just to give just to pick out the blanking detail. I don't know if you can actually see that in the light. You did on your feet. It's pooling a little bit. Just spread it out a bit. I'm just trying to get in to show those doorways. So I just run my wash very the planks. It'll just settle into the recesses and pick them out a lot better. Oops, camera's not great. And that one there. Same again with my black wash. I'll try and take some better daylight pictures tomorrow when I've got better lighting. Right, that's the wall pretty much done. Like I say, I'm just going to do some off-camera work on the wall scribing there. I'll just make those stones stand out a bit better, but I just need to lay it flat. Well, I need to lay it down a bit better than it is, because we can't get to it. I mustn't forget the electrical box, but I'll need to check my photographs again. Now the next thing to do, now I've got the windows in, is start adding a roof. I've already cut some pieces of card to the shape, which I'm just fitting in there, and I'm going to use those as a way of templating out the size of the roof properly. I'm just going to kind of squeeze it in place. Lovely to see you, Pip. Thank you very much for coming along. Good luck with work today. Right, I think it's nearly time to sign off, because it's getting late my end, and quite a bit to do on this yet. But one thing I'm going to show you is I have made some roofing pieces. Can we see that? This is some roofing tiles that I've made out of cast resin. Well, it's actually plaster, resin plaster. I'm going to have to cut them down to size, but these are the pieces that I've done. I'm going to use those cardboard templates to cut them to size, but they're not quite long enough, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of sticking pieces together. Now, this is the mould that I've used, and you're going to see firsthand the demoulding of this section. So I didn't quite have enough resin to pour in right to the end, but I only needed a little bit of the roof making anyway, so it didn't matter. So here we go. This is the mould that I've used, and there we go. Lovely piece of roofing. So it's just a nice little silicone mould. I did actually get it to use on a previous project where I was struggling with a roof type, but it's too big. It's too big in scale. It's more, well, it's 150 scale as opposed to 176. So this model is an absolute perfect perfect use for it. It's as if I was destined to use the mould at some point. So this has got a slightly different roof, like I said, to the other pieces, which are sort of more conventional tile. So this was going to need a little bit of working out, but it's actually going to be something like that, and it's a grey tile. Can they even use it for cooking? We're talking about bad wine right now. So we've got a slight angle that I need to work out. That's why I've made a cardboard template. Now, as you can see, it's just a little bit too short, the mould. It needs to go a bit further. So what I'm going to do is that part piece that I've cut, that's going to be, it's going to just sort of sit on at the end. Just going to have to make it long enough. Now I'm going to use those cardboard templates to glue directly onto. Here I'm going to glue those pieces of tile work straight onto the cardboard, and that will give me an accurate shape. But I'm not going to do that tonight because I'm getting a little bit tired, and you know what happens when you get tired. Things start going wrong. So it'd be quite easy for me to end up cutting things inaccurately and getting the wrong way around. But what I've actually done is, because it's not quite square, I've cut this so it matches up with the wall perfectly up there. So what I need to do is just marry the tile pieces to the cardboard template. Now, as you can see, it's very, very easy just to get it wrong if you're not concentrating. Yeah, let's just leave this bit plain. You have reminded me though, I do actually need to put a skylight in on the TV room, which I've forgotten about. But right, that's what I'm going to do next. That'll be the next stage, maybe tomorrow, is fitting that roof. So thank you very much for joining me tonight, and I will see you again soon.